Hello, my name is Lance Davis. I will be delivering a lecture today on principles of power in terms of interpersonal communication. Power is the potential that one person has to influence the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of others. It's important to look at what gives people power. Everyone has power in some way. With power comes the responsibility to use the power in ways that show respect and concern for others. People with strong power bases, or resources in which they draw power from, are more effective in influencing others. People perceived as more expert, attractive, trustworthy, and credible are more likely to be persuasive as well. Take a moment to think about who in your life has the greatest interpersonal power. Let's take a look at the general sources of power in relationships. There are 5 major sources of power that exist. Coercive power exists if one is able to harm another physically and or psychologically should the other resist the influence attempt. For an example of this, perhaps you know a woman or a man who has remained in an unhealthy relationship because of the coercive, whether real or perceived, power of a partner. Next, reward power. Reward power exists if one is able to provide monetary, physical, or psychological benefits that the partner desires. A person that may be locked in an unhealthy relationship because of the reward power of sex or drugs, or even controlled by a sense of feeling needed, would be an example here. Next power source, legitimate power. Legitimate power exists if one can use the status that comes from being elected, selected, or from holding a position to influence a partner. Examples include parents having legitimate power over their children from their status as mother and father. A question to think about here is, whom do you consider to have the greatest legitimate power over you right now in your relationships? Next source of power, expert. Expert power exists if one has knowledge that the relational partner does not have. A person may be in a relationship where he or she must frequently defer to their partner because they may lack the knowledge to disagree. Last source of power, referent power. Referent power exists if you are attracted to your partner due to physical appearance, image, charisma, or personality. Consider past romantic relationships. Examples may include dating someone because he or she was popular or attractive. Now that we've looked at the sources of power, let's examine the principles of power. Power is a perception, not a fact. You may perceive yourself as powerful, but the other person has to as well. The other person has to endorse your power and agree to give it to you in a sense. Without this endorsement of power, there is no real power. Power exists within a relationship. The relational theory of power states that power is a relational concept. It does not reside in the individual, but rather in the relationship of the person to his or her environment. Finally, power is not a personality trait that is learned and performed. Sources of power are specific to each relationship and can also change over time. Power can also represent an exchange of and sometimes a struggle over resources. For example, you will have less power in a relationship if the same resources are available somewhere else. As well, the person with less to lose has greater power. The partner with more power can essentially make and break the rules for the relationship. And power is not inherently good or bad by itself. The power isn't bad. It depends on what you do with it that might be good or bad. In a balanced relationship, let's talk about balance in relationships. In a balanced relationship, a partner may communicate well and the relationship flourishes due to both of the partners having power. In an unbalanced relationship, the relationship may be effective and satisfying to both partners if the more powerful individual is sensitive to the needs and concerns of the less powerful partner. Of course, people make choices about using the power that they have. People are more at risk of being emotionally and physically hurt when they have or perceive that they have relatively little power in a situation. A balance of power helps to build healthy, fair relationships between individuals. Positive use of power involves acting or influencing others in ways which show respect for yourself and others. It also involves protecting your own and others' rights to safety. Abuse of power, on the other hand, occurs when people do not respect the rights of others or themselves. Today I've talked about principles of power. Being able to identify, describe, and distinguish between power principles will help you to better manage ethical and responsible communication choices in your own interpersonal relationships.